Welcome to First and Cam. My name is Evan Scales. I'm the co-host of the show, and today's show is going to be Best Bets for College Football, Saturday, September 20th, 2025. Now, I have 5 games that I'm going to break down and give you my picks on. I only believe in picking the games where we all know the teams and the players. So the big premier games, that's what I want to be predicting. I think I have the best edge by being able to watch them because they get the most screen time and they have the most stats and data behind all the players, coaches, plays run, and everything else. Now, you could be anywhere on YouTube, but you're watching this channel, so I appreciate it, but why would you listen to my picks over somebody else? Well, one, I play the sport. I get X and O with the best of them. Number 2, last week, I went 4 for 5 in the NFL picking games. I know exactly what I'm looking at, and I know exactly what metrics to track when it comes to picking who's going to cover or who's going to win the game. So without further ado, let's get into game 1. Texas Tech at Utah. In my opinion, these are the 2 best teams in the Big 12, and I expect to see one of them in the college football playoff at the end of the year. Now, for both of these teams, this is going to be their first real challenge. Texas Tech hasn't really played anybody. They played Oregon State, but that is a horrible program. The best team Utah has played was UCLA, and before the season started, we thought that could be a team that might not be great, but could compete, and now we know they're just flat out horrible, and Nico is not very good. So for both Texas Tech and Utah, this is going to be the first challenge of an opponent that has similar athletes on both sides of the ball as them. Now, both these teams do very different things. However, they're both very effective. So Texas Tech has the number 1 scoring offense in the country. They are number 1. Utah is 14, so they're not far behind. And again, both haven't played great teams, but the stats are the stats. Utah does a great job of spreading the rock around. Baron Morton, he's a fantastic quarterback. He is, I believe, top 5 in passing yards on the year so far, which is great. You got a ton of really good receivers, and they have 3 running backs. Texas Tech does 3 running backs with over 150 yards of rushing already on the season, 3 games in. So they can run it and they can throw it. Utah, a little bit different. Same style of offense, I would say, as far as spreading the ball around. However, their quarterback is much more of the prototypical dual threat. Can throw the ball, but also they like to run him. And the thing about Utah is they've been a very physical program for a very long time. The Utah Utes have been a team that can beat anybody at any given time, and they will match up physicality with any roster in the country. They might not have the best athletes, but Kyle Whittingham will put together a team that's hyper-competitive and will bully you in the trenches. And that's ultimately where I think this game comes down. Now, Texas Tech has only allowed 2 sacks all year, and they both came against Oregon State. Now, I expect that Utah front, that front four, which is really elite, to get home multiple times, and I think kind of unwind some of that sinking that the Texas Tech offense has experienced the first 3 weeks of the season. So I expect Utah to win this game. I expect them to cover the 3-point spread. It was 3.5. Now it's down to 3. I'll gladly take that. I put home field advantage at about 2.5 to 3 points, so it's kind of a pick'em game. I like the Utes. I think Devin Dampier is going to be a guy that we will hear multiple times this year, and I don't know if he ends up in the Heisman race, but he is a guy that can hurt you running the ball and throwing the ball, and that's exactly what it takes in college football. So give me the Utes to cover at home. Number 22, Auburn at number 11, Oklahoma, the return of Jackson Arnold. This is going to be a fantastic game, maybe my favorite game of the day to watch. I'm a big Oklahoma Sooners guy. I think Mateer is going to be a Heisman frontrunner as the season goes on, but that does not impact my pick today. What I do think is going to happen is this game will come down to one thing. I think that's rushing the football. So far this year, Auburn has basically been anemic in the pass game. We thought Jackson Arnold as a freshman was going to be the guy in Oklahoma. If you remember correctly, they actually pushed out Dylan Gabriel for this guy, and it almost cost Brent Venables his job. And so glad to see that Oklahoma's kind of back on track a little bit, but they thought Jackson Arnold would be the guy, and in fact, he wasn't. He had to end up transferring, and now Hugh Freeze has him at Auburn. Now, this game will come down to which defense can take away what the other offense wants to do. We know Auburn wants to run the ball. We know Oklahoma wants to give the ball to Mateer and just let him do his thing. Now, that makes him a little bit harder to defend, but it's very much doable. When I look at this Auburn defense, what I see is a really good run defense. What I also see is a really solid front four. And so really just when they have the box, their front 7, I think is very good. They've got a lot of pros in there. I think Auburn does a great job at getting home, and the stats back that up. They have a top 15 sack percentage, so as the team drops back to pass, they are getting home quite a bit, and they're giving a lot of pressure to that quarterback. They also stop the run incredibly well, so they're filling gaps. They're blitzing correctly. They are basically making sure that they don't leave wide open holes to where the offense can get to that second level of the defense, the linebackers, and third level being the DBs, to force them to make tackles. Where this team probably has the biggest hole across the board is, well, maybe Jackson Arnold, depending on how he plays, but it's going to be their defensive backs, their DBs. I don't know that Auburn has the right guys back there, or they run the right scheme for the guys that they have back there. That defense ranks in the mid-50s, 60s, and 70s, and upper 80s on some of these defensive stats that they have. And so I don't trust that defense, the defensive backs, but I do think the front line could get home enough, or at least give enough pressure to make Mateer feel uncomfortable and potentially have him turn the ball over, which they have done at times this year. Now, if I flip over to the Oklahoma defense, a different story, which is kind of interesting. Now, I think of the two teams, I do believe that Oklahoma has played the tougher schedule so far, in that they played Michigan, which I think Michigan could be a pretty good team, and we'll talk about them coming up here. Oklahoma has a really good pass defense, but it probably doesn't matter because that's not what Auburn wants to do. They want to run the ball, and Oklahoma's run defense is just okay. It's not horrible. It's not elite. It's just okay. And I look at that and I say, well, it's early in the season, but they played Michigan, who wants to run the football, and these stats hold up pretty good. And so I do expect Oklahoma to have some success with their offense against that Auburn defense. I don't know how much of that Auburn offense is going to translate into points against Oklahoma defense. And so for that, I believe the line on this one, let's see, it is 6.5. I'm taking the points. I'm taking Oklahoma to win this game by 10-13, kind of a 2-score game, and it's not really close as we get into the fourth quarter. So give me the Sooners to cover and win this game. Michigan at Nebraska, a duel of two young but highly talented quarterbacks that could match up in college for a few more years and in the NFL. And we look back at these duels in the Big Ten and think what a treat it was, and we'll continue to watch them as they grow. Now, this game will come down to which team can impose and whose identity is stronger. I think both of these defenses are just okay. Michigan definitely took a step back, and we know Nebraska isn't fantastic on the defensive side, although they haven't been tested much outside of that Cincinnati game, which kind of came as a shock that they didn't blow them out. Now, we know Nebraska wants to throw the football. They want to put the ball in Dylan Raio's hands and make him make the decisions, and so far he's done a pretty good job at it. Where I think that could be an issue is this Michigan defense has proven that against elite quarterback play, which I don't think Raiola is just yet. He's really good. He's a young guy, but I don't think he's as elite as Mateer at Oklahoma. Michigan has shown that they can stop the pass and force you to play a game that's uncomfortable. That's just Big Ten football. That's low scoring. That's in the trenches, that you play complimentary. You punt the ball, try to play the field position game, and every so often you'll have a chance to hit a big play, and you better take advantage. I think that's typical Big Ten football, and I just don't see Nebraska being built for that. They're top 10 in the country when it comes to passing, not so much when it comes to rushing. I think the Michigan defense kind of overwhelms Raiola a little bit, where this could be an issue, and why it's hard to say Michigan's going to definitely cover on the road is, well, it's going to be a crazy environment as Nebraska is undefeated. This is year 3 Matt Rule. We are all expecting Nebraska to take that leap. And Bryce Underwood, as a true freshman on the road, I don't know if I can trust him. I saw him do it at Oklahoma a little bit, and the box score wasn't as horrible as he looked. And so I think he found something a little bit against Central Michigan. And so 2.5 points isn't enough for me. I'm going to take Michigan to win this game, and probably win so by a touchdown and a field goal, 6 to 10 point game here. Give me Michigan to win on the road with a true freshman quarterback. And I think that helps Bryce Underwood take that next step and actually makes this Michigan team somewhat formidable against what that matchup will be against Ohio State at the end of the year. Florida at number 4, Miami. This is going to be a game that Billy Napier and the Florida Gators must respond. I don't think anybody thinks they're going to win this game, but what I do think is that they can be highly competitive. That Florida defense is incredibly elite. The DBs are good. They get home. You saw how much LSU struggled on offense against that team while giving up 5 INTs, 5 turnovers, and you only had 20 points. A turnover typically is worth about 2 points. And so you look at that and you say your offense can really only score 10 points without those turnovers. That Florida defense is not to be played with. Where I think it could be an issue is I think Miami is the best offense, or one of the best offenses in the country. They seem to have it clicking. They seem to know exactly how to get the ball to their players in the right spots. I think Carson Beck is playing with a ton of confidence, and because of that, the receiver, the running backs, the O-line are all playing with a ton of confidence as well. Miami has done a really good job against UCF. We saw our USF. We saw them beat Florida, and so we were hoping that they wouldn't look ahead to this Florida game and look past USF, as that could be, a troubling spot for them, and they handled business as they should. I think this Miami defense doesn't get enough credit for how good it is because we focus on the offense and the scoring. I think Florida, it's a 7.5 point cover. I think they cover by about 14 to 17. I think Florida looks competitive in the first or second quarter, and then after that, one or two big plays happen. DJ Lowry gives the ball away one too many times, and eventually Miami takes advantage of that, and they run away with this one. So I'm going 14-point win here is kind of what I'm thinking, 14 to 17. So give me Miami Hurricanes to cover as well. South Carolina at a number 23 ranked Mizzou. I think Mizzou is one of the most underrated teams across the country. I think we're propping up a few teams at the top 10, and we are not considering how good this team and specifically this offense has been thus far in the season. Bro Perbula, Ahmad Hardy, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the country and one of the best running backs in the country on the same offense. We have Kevin Coleman Jr. and Grant Norfleet have been impactful and effective as well. I think this is a game for Mizzou to establish who they are and what type of team they are in the SEC. They got kind of a cupcake of a schedule, if you would, and so stamping a South Carolina win could be a big deal. The spread is 10.5. That's mostly because Lenore Sellers is probably going to be out of this game. And I do think Mizzou covers that spread. I know it's a big ask. It's going to be under the lights. It's going to be a fantastic game and environment. But I think Mizzou is on the right path to being one of those top 5 SEC schools and probably viable for a college football playoff appearance. And so give me Mizzou, led by Bo Perbula, the old backup at Penn State, if you remember that, to win and cover that 10.5 points. I think they end up winning by about 17 to 20. I think South Carolina can't get anything going. I think Mizzou takes advantage, and that is your ball game. I know I said I only had 5 picks, but I'm adding a 6th. So if you're still watching, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and stick around for more videos of college football, as we love to do these, myself and Cam, the host of this show. Number 9, Illinois at number 19, Indiana. This is a game that I think is sneakily underrated. We know Oregon's good. We know Penn State's good, at least we think. And we know Ohio State's really good in the Big Ten. But there's room for a 4th. And a lot of people are picking Indiana. A lot of people are picking Illinois to be that 4th spot and potentially sneak into the college football playoff. I don't know if either one of these teams could make it, but they're certainly ready to go as far as roster and what they've shown on the field and on tape so far. Now, Illinois travels to Indiana. I think it'll be a really ruckus environment. It's probably been the first time since never that both of these teams are ranked inside the top 20 and they match up in football. Certainly in basketball, but definitely not in football. Where I think this game comes down to is I think Illinois had a lot of really good expectations coming into the season. Brett Bielema has put together a good roster. This team looks pretty good. Luke Altmaier, the quarterback, is going to be a draft pick at some point. I don't know, probably second, third round. We know he's a good player, and we think he's going to be a great player in the NFL too, or at least have a roster spot for a long time. Where I think we get ahead of ourselves, or at least some of the analysts have, is Illinois isn't actually elite at very much. The offense has just been okay. The defense has just been okay. And Indiana is, again, really good on offense. And so I look at this game and think Illinois has that preseason hype, and Indiana didn't get any of it. And I think that's going to flip after the end of this game. And so I don't think Illinois is going to be as bad as Indiana is going to make them look. I think Indiana is going to get boosted probably in the top 15, top 12 after this game. It's a 5.5 point spread. Give me Indiana to cover and win at home. I think it ends up being a 13-point game. It's great in the beginning, great environment. I think Indiana pulls away at the very end. So here are all my picks in a row. I have Utah covering at home, -3.5. I have Oklahoma covering at home as well, -6.5. I have Michigan covering on the road. They are -2.5. I have Miami covering on the road as well. They are -7.5 at the time of this recording. I have Mizzou covering 10.5 at home as well. And then I have Indiana covering at home, that 5.5 point spread. Those are your 6 best bets for this week, September 20th. The game's on Saturday. If you disagree with me, put it in the comments. If you agree with me, put it in the comments. But either way, make sure you like the video, subscribe, stick around, and we will put more of these out every single week as long as you guys keep watching and enjoying it. I'll see you in the next one.